Welcome to the Open Forum in the Villages, Florida podcast. In this show, we talk to leaders in the community, leaders of clubs, and interesting folks who live here in the Villages to get perspectives of what is happening here in the Villages, Florida. We are a listener-supported podcast. There will be shout-outs for supporters in episodes. In Season 6, we will continue making substantial improvements to the podcast.
This is Mike Roth. And listeners, I'm thrilled to share with you this podcast, which is my passion project for you. This podcast brings me joy, brings you knowledge, inspiration, and a lot of things that people need to know about the Villages and the people living here. Be sure to hit the follow button to get the newest episode each week. Creating this podcast is a labor of love, even though it demands more time that I can easily spare. Now, here's where you come in. You can help us keep the podcast alive and thriving. How? By becoming a supporter. The easy way for you to support us is to visit our podcast webpage, openforuminthevillagesflorida.com, and click on the supporter button at the top of the page, or the purple supporter box on the right side of the page. Even a small donation of $3 to $10 a month makes a big difference. And guess what? You can cancel your subscription at any time. No strings attached. Your support means the world to us. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep those headphones on. I hope everyone enjoys today's show. This is Mike Roth on Open Forum in the Villages, Florida. I'm here today with Donna Hoover. Donna, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Now, I invited Donna on the show because she's in our Improvisational Theater Club, and she's doing a lot of other things and had an interesting past. Donna loves things that are creative. She made her living, before coming to the Villages, in print advertising, then moved on to the world of television production, commercials, engaging her skills in script writing, shooting, and editing. She moved here to the Villages with her husband last New Year's Eve to enjoy the warm weather. Boy, is it warm here this summer.
It is.
And engage in more of what she loves doing, which is singing, improv, acting, photography, painting, nutrition, healthy eating, which I think we all should do more of. And she's also completing her first book. Donna is accustomed to being the interviewer, not the interviewee. For years, she interviewed subjects for personal interest stories and writes for a magazine in California. Do you still write for the magazine in California, Donna?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay. And what was your favorite interview that you had done in California?
My favorite interview I did was for a man named Bill Getz, and he was a World War II bomber pilot. And he told me he was close to 100. He was probably 90 years old when I interviewed him a couple of years ago. And he told me all about his experiences and obviously being shot at and shooting back, of course. But it was a really insightful, amazing interview. He was 17 years old and lied to get into the service so that he could go defend his country after what happened at Pearl Harbor. And it was just amazing to be in the presence of somebody that had lived that life and had that experience. So it was a great interview.
Did you keep a copy of that for your interview for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. I hope it's preserved on something other than VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah. It was very recent, and I recorded it on micro cassette recorder, or not cassette. What are those now? They're digital now.
Digital recorders, yeah.
Sometimes my age shows, sorry.
Not a problem. So tell us a little bit about your musical journey.
Okay. When I was 8 years old, I thought I should sing. And I didn't really, I didn't know if I could sing because I was 8 years old. And I did different things throughout my life, joined a choir in high school and things like that, and just had fun with it. But I didn't really arduously go after it. And so through my life, I had a little bit of exposure to, I'd had some voice lessons here and there, but nothing intense. And then in 2020, I was interviewing someone for the magazine that I write for, and she was a fado singer.
Whoa, what toe?
Fado, F-A-D-O. It's Portuguese.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, she's a Portuguese singer, and she sings in both English and Portuguese. So I was interviewing her and not thinking about my singing at all. It had been many years since I'd really gotten into it at all. And she said, oh, and by the way, I'm a voice teacher at School of Rock. And I said, I did see a van for School of Rock, but didn't know what it was and found it intriguing. And she said, come on down. She says, how about I'll give you a free lesson. We'll see where we go from there. So that was in 2020 and in March. And so I went in and I got my free lesson, and I was so nervous that my voice was shaking. Are you nervous to sing in front of me? I said, I absolutely am. And she was, okay. So anyway, I did my free lesson, and she said, yeah, I think you should continue if you want to. So I said, that sounds fun. So I did. And over time, my voice grew stronger and I got more confidence. And they started an adult band at School of Rock. Mm-hmm. So they already had kids' bands and they were quite talented. But anyway, so they started an adult band. And so there were a bunch of us with varying degrees of musical experience. And I didn't have a lot. And I started singing with the band. The fortunate thing for me was, because I was still a little nervous about all of this, it was 2020 in July. So I was able to develop my skill more so in front of no audience for about 1.5 years, which is very helpful, because if they put you right out there in front of people right away, it's going to be more difficult. So anyway, I was with them for about 1.5 years to 2 years. And then I decided to leave there and go sing on a church worship team. And the worship team leader had invited me to come over. And then he said, hey, do you want to start a band? I said, I would love to start a band. And so we did. And I was with them until I left California this past New Year's Eve. And then when I got here, I let a few people know that I would be interested in singing if they knew anybody looking for someone. And this one band had just lost their lead singer. And I contacted the leader, Marv, and I said, I'm interested in your band. He says, come on out and do an audition and we'll see. I said, all right. And so I did. And I'm the lead singer of that band now.
And the name of the band is?
The name is Just Like That.
Just Like That.
Just Like That.
And if one of our listeners wants to see the band live, where do you perform?
Right now, we are gelling as a band, I guess, as you would say. And our first performance is going to be, I think, probably before this podcast. So it's September. And let's see. So, yeah.
First performance was at
in
September.
In retrospect, but it hasn't happened yet. Yeah, September 15th, we're doing a driveway party at my house. And that's for the social group that we belong to. On October 5th, we have another party that we're booked for. I'm trying to think future. We don't have anything booked beyond the point of the date that we're having this discussion. What they could do is go to Facebook and look for us and see.
So you have a Facebook page.
Yeah, and it would be Just Like That Band, Florida. Because I understand we were trying to choose our name, and I understand there's another band called Just Like That from Cape Cod, which I thought was interesting because that's where I'm from originally. Anyway.
And what type of music does your band play?
We play a variety of music. I'd say mostly classic rock stuff. We do things from Journey, Fleetwood Mac, even some older things like we go 60s, 70s up to some current. We've done Lady Antebellum, and we've got a little country mixed in there, the Judds. We do a song by Queen. Yeah, so it's all over, but really, I would say mostly focused in the 60s, 70s, kind of classic.
And you also said that you were a writer of a book. Tell us about your book.
Okay. What happened was, this is an actual story, so I guess you can call it a sort of a memoir, but it's more about my sister than about me. But I am in there as well, telling the story because I'm older than she is. And the story is about my sister, who was a drug addict. She was an alcoholic. She had a variety of things going on, including domestic abuse, and her life was pretty messed up. And she started this journey destroying herself at a very young age, about 12 years old. So we obviously sent out a lot of prayers for her, and we're just really hoping things would turn around. And we did that for decades. And I think just to talk about it, the story, I think what makes it interesting beyond here's a story of another person who was an addict or something, is that her personality is very whimsical and fun and engaging. And she's the kind of person, like the life of the party, the person you'd want to know in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
She's very creative and very fun. And so in the book, in the story, you really fall in love with who she is, or who her potential to be her true self is.
Mm-hmm.
You root for her because what is this sweet, awesome girl doing, messing up her life like this? So you do really root for her. And in the end, she does turn her life over to Christ and revives her life. Toward the end of the book, I was almost done writing it, and she had a brain aneurysm. And she was only 49 years old at the time. And it was pretty severe, yet in the end, she's functioning perfectly well. I mean, everything's healed. They did surgery and all that sort of thing. And
So is the book finished?
the book was finished last year, and then I sent it to beta readers to review it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm working on it every day, arduously again, to try to integrate the comments and concerns that the beta readers had. Many wanted more information, so I'm re-interviewing her, like, what was more to this story? So doing that sort of thing.
And are you a member of any of the writers' clubs here in the Villages?
Right now, I am planning on, I've already contacted the Writers League of the Villages, and I plan on attending their August meeting, so that'll be my first one. I had not been working on the book for the time that I've been here because we've been getting settled in, and so yeah. So now I'm now that I'm back writing it and everything, I'm ready to join the club and see what they have to offer.
Yeah, we've had many of our podcast guests who are members of the Writers League, and we've talked about several of their books. Let's take a short break and listen to an Alzheimer's tip from Dr. Craig Curtis. Dr. Curtis, what is the biggest limitation for Alzheimer's research in America?
The biggest limitation for Alzheimer's research is our shortage of patients that get involved in clinical research trials. For example, a couple of years ago, a report came out that showed there were approximately 25,000 open positions for patients with Alzheimer's disease to get involved in research, yet only about 7,000 to 8,000 of those positions went filled for the year. So every year, we run a deficit in the United States in filling these clinical trials, which in turn slows our overall ability to complete the clinical trials.
With over 20 years of experience studying brain health, Dr. Curtis's goal is to educate the Villages community on how to live a longer, healthier life. To learn more, visit his website, craigcurtismd.com, or call 352-500-5252 to attend a free seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Curtis. I'm back with Donna Hoover. Donna, you've had experience in television, both on and off screen. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your television experience in Northern California?
A lot of it was centered around producing television commercials, and that was fun. I was in some commercials as well, but I think it's like a two-sided thing. Some of the most interesting parts of it were when I got to meet people. I did commercials with Rich Aurelia, who was with the San Francisco Giants. I had CC Sabathia, who you might know. You're from New York, right? Yeah. He was a pitcher for the New York Yankees. And then Huey Lewis. Yes, come on.
Oh, yeah, Huey Lewis.
All
yes.
right, I got one. Yay. Okay, so I did one with Huey Lewis for Special Olympics. So that was a fun side of it. You get to be on the in-track meeting cool people. But on the other hand, I was also in some of the commercials. So I got to be a spokesperson for this car dealership or for this dentist or whatever. So there was a lot of that going on too.
You were the talent.
I was the talent sometimes, yeah. And I did a lot of voiceover work back then. And I really enjoyed it. It was fun to learn how to shoot and how to edit. So at a certain point, I was in a one-woman band, as it were. I would go out at the account executives when I was in TV commercial production. The account executives would come on and say, here's our new client, whoever they were. And I would go out and meet with them, interview them, produce a script, go out and get the talent prepared, locations, everything you would do. and then go out and shoot it myself, bring it back and edit it. And then once it was all done, they'd take it back out and get approval for it.
Cool. We'll have to put you to work editing the videos of the improv shows.
So yeah, it was fun. And besides the commercials, we did some little local origination programming. We did some shows, and that was a lot of fun too. We did a little news program called On Assignment. So I got to interview people about various things for that show. And then we had it in our town. We had a parade every year. It was called Fiesta Days Parade. And it's been touted as like the biggest parade in Northern California. It was pretty big. And so I was the MC for that for 8 or 9 years. And that was fun. And obviously that was televised and whatnot.
So they had floats and balloons?
Oh, yeah. They had everything. The horses, floats, the balloons, everything, the bands. So I did that. And then another thing was we had the United Way telethon would come to town. And one year I got to MC that too. And that was fun. The fun part for me with that was they were like, we want you to look really good. So we're going to send you over here. And they ended up getting me this dress that I got to wear for one night. It was a $3,000 dress. And to me, I didn't have any $3,000 dresses. So I got to wear this gorgeous dress for one night. So I felt very glamorous. But anyway, so it was a lot of fun, a lot of on and off camera. And then in the end of my career, I worked for the state of California, and they ended up using me for some voiceover work. And you can go online to state of California stuff, and you'll see me there sometimes and hear my voice there. And so that was fun. I worked for a tax department. That wasn't a lot of fun.
Worked for the California Tax Department.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there's that.
You're also going to be in our show on November 19th, the Improv show at Rohan. That show is going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And we're going to incorporate some music into that show, some singing. And I know we're going to have you up on stage and doing some singing. Why don't you tell our listeners what your favorite part of improv is?
Oh, I'm still learning. I'm new at improv. Everything I've done in the past has been scripted. Everything's pre-written, so I didn't really have to, except for when I did the telethon and the parade. I got to do a little improv there, or a lot. So my favorite part is just every new scene is exciting because you don't ever know what's going to happen. It's just, you got to play off of what's going on, and to interact with people is a lot of fun, to just play off of what they're doing. And then that creates something new in you, and things that you don't even know you're thinking about just come out. You're like, oh gosh, wow, where'd that come from? So it's a lot of fun.
And it's very funny. Tickets actually are on sale now, and you can go over to thevillagesimprov.com, and on the homepage, there'll be a link to the show, which will allow you to buy tickets. It's a reserved seat show, which is unusual for us. So the earlier you go on to buy your tickets, the better the seats that you can select.
They better do that right now.
As soon as possible. We're about half sold out now. Now, most people will be listening to this in September. Donna, why don't you share with our listening audience your thoughts on aging?
I think I have a fairly unique perspective on aging, at least maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, I feel like age is, or I should say, I believe that age is pretty much what you choose. It's what you decide it will be. And I don't think that anybody is destined for anything in particular as far as ailments or, oh, I'm going to gain weight or I'm going to lose my teeth or whatever. And I think a lot of people have the mindset that I'm older, that's why I weigh more. I'm older, that's why everything hurts. I'm older, that's why. And I don't think that's the reason why. I think that it's your choice to be more active, your choice to supplement your diet, your healthy diet, with supplements. I think there are so many ways to maintain a great level of fitness and health far beyond what a lot of people are willing to do.
Mm-hmm. So you go to the gym every week?
We go to the gym. We try to go every day. Mm-hmm. I missed it this morning because I had to come here. I didn't have to come here. I got to come here. Thank you.
And this is exercise.
Yes. Yes, I'm standing up straight, breathing from my diaphragm. So yes. But yes, I go to the gym most days. Mm-hmm. I guess that's a fair way to say it. And I go by the 80-20 rule as far as what you should eat. 80% of the time, eat the good things. 20% of the time, hey, let's go to Kumho's for dinner, right? Or whatever.
Well, Kumho's can be healthy depending on what you order.
Yes, that is true. No, actually, yes. But for me, when I go out, I lose my self-discipline a little bit and just have a good time.
But you're probably not alone.
So have a good time. I think that's the thing that people think, oh, you like to eat healthy and do all this stuff. You're boring and you're not having fun and you're not eating good things. That's not true, or good, quote unquote. It's more of devoting your life to taking care of yourself and then having your fun also.
Yeah. One of the advantages I find of going to Kumu at Improv on Monday nights after our regular meeting ends at 8:20, we go over to Kumu's, a Japanese restaurant in Lake Deaton Plaza, which is adjacent to Rohan, and we have something to eat and drink. The advantage of Kumu's is they don't have terribly fattening desserts.
True. And their service is fabulous. The people there are amazing people.
We used to go to an Italian restaurant that had fantastic tiramisu and other Italian.
Good food, really good food.
The food was fantastic. And then we're now all on a diet at Kumu's. So what are your thoughts on healthy living and lifestyle?
A little bit what I've touched on. I like to make things homemade as much as possible. Try not to use refined sugars when I'm baking, cooking. I use alternate things.
So you make those watermelon cookies?
Watermelon cookies?
Sure.
You mean just here's a slice of watermelon, take this? That's okay too. It's delicious. I like to...
Chocolate chip watermelon?
Yeah, of course. Gotta have that. I like to...
Dark chocolate, so it's healthy.
Yes, it's a certain percentage, right? But I challenge myself. So if there's something that I love that's like a chocolate chip cookie, how can I make this healthier? What can I do to this? And so there are things that you can do with anything that you're eating to reduce the sodium, reduce the sugar, reduce anything in it, fat. I want to take that back. Fat is not necessarily unhealthy. Fat can be really good. Actually, your brain needs it. But to reduce the bad elements.
And sodium isn't necessarily bad.
It's an excess of sodium that is a problem.
At this time of year when it's hot and you're sweating, even if you're sweating in the air-conditioned gym, you need a certain amount of sodium.
I agree.
To keep your body in balance.
You do. And I think on my thoughts on that in particular, there's a salt that I use. It's called Celtic sea salt. And you can also use, I think the Himalayan salt, you've probably seen it, the pink crystals.
What's Himalayan. It called? Oh, Himalayan.
That's another one.
That's
Himalayan.
A good salt?
Yeah, my preference is for the Celtic sea salt. And the reason being for that, and not to go too deep into a sidebar here on this, but the reason being for that is that the vitamins and minerals or whatever is in that salt is fully digestible by your body. When they take an iodized salt, like the table salt you'll see at a restaurant, for instance, or what most people buy, it has had everything good stripped out of it. So when you're using that salt, that's what the kind of salt that it would raise your blood pressure and cause you to have different issues due to the salt having all the good things stripped away. So when you go to a Celtic sea salt, it's left as its whole self, the way that it would be healthy for your body. So when you introduce that into your body, is well able to process it.
So is that the way the salt is processed or where it's from?
It has to do with the processing largely because they're taking, if you look at Celtic sea salt, you're going to see it's like a gray color and it's bigger a little bit. It comes in bigger chunks. You have to grind it down or you can get it ground, but it's a gray color versus your white. That looks like bleached, pure. So yeah, have your listeners do a little research on that. So salt is great if you're getting the right salt. That would be my
And where do you
advice
buy your Celtic sea salt?
You can get it I think right now I've been getting it online. I have been getting it online. I used to have a place back in California where I could find it. Sometimes they'll carry it, say, at Sprouts, that sort of place. Maybe at Fresh Market. I haven't asked or checked there because I already have some still. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. And Donna, if someone wants to find out when your book is published, how would they do that?
The name of the book is Wandering in the Shadows. Wandering in the Shadows. And I guess you could just look for that name. I'll be establishing a Facebook page for that.
Is it going to be self-published?
I believe it is, and I want, largely because I want to retain the rights to it, I'm looking toward producing a film or a TV show based on this book in time. So I don't want to release the rights to a publishing company and not have control over them.
So are you going to almost immediately create an audiobook version since you've been in the voiceover business?
I might do that. I hadn't really thought a lot about that side of it because right now there's so much in just getting it written. And then I think the thing that kind of holds you back as a writer, or at least I could say for myself, sometimes you're like, okay, I'm not going to work on it. Why am I not working on it? But I think the real reason is on the other side of writing it is the whole issue of how do you publish it? How do you market it? How do you do? And those are unknowns to me. And so that's why I'm interested in joining the writers group here in the Villages to get some insight on what happens on the other side of the writing. Because I know how to write.
Good. When this recording is finished, I'll show you what my daughter has done, which has been phenomenal.
All right. Publishing.
Her self-published book has been at the top of her category on Amazon for the past 3 years now.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested in that.
Good. Thanks for being a guest on the show today, Donna.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Good. And everyone can see you in the November 19th production of the Improv Company show at Rohan.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
Remember, our next episode will be released next Friday at 9 a.m. Should you want to become a major supporter of the show or have questions, please contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. This is a shout-out for supporters Tweet Coleman, Ed Williams, Paul Sorgen, and major supporter Dr. Craig Curtis at K2 in the Villages. We will be hearing more from Dr. Curtis with short Alzheimer's tips each week. If you know someone who should be on the show, contact us at mike@rothvoice.com. We thank everyone for listening to the show. The content of the show is copyrighted by Rothvoice 2024. All rights reserved.